YouTube, it's me again. I'm going to talk to you about the work that I did on Friday, the 9th of June. Full disclosure, it is not Friday, 9th of June right now. And the reason why I didn't do my usual thing, which is to produce the video at the end of the day that I was driving, was that on Friday I had company in the van with me, and I did not feel ready to share with them, or in fact with anybody, to be fair, that I'm doing this YouTube stuff. So I've got the figures for Friday, which was a couple of days ago. So the story of Friday was, in the morning I had a job already booked in, going from Boston to Preston for £180, that's what I bid. It's for a medium wheelbase job, and the distance was 177 miles. I had made a slight error, which was I didn't spot it was two drop-off stops. But I was quite grateful on the Friday to get a on the Thursday to get a Friday morning job. So in the end, I wasn't that bothered about it. I was quite happy to have it. So I picked up in Boston. I left the house about 9 o'clock-ish. Picked up about 20 to 10. Slightly earlier. The pickup time was 10 to 10 o'clock they wanted, but when I got there I checked with them. They were absolutely happy for me to turn up at any point. Some places are really strict and some are very flexible, and this was a really nice place to pick up from. The people were really nice, they were very friendly, and they were very quick. I had to have a slight delay because I had to put up some paperwork, but that's no problem. It was 5 minutes, it was no issue at all, and they're very nice people. So I'd love to go there again to do that job. One of the reasons why I did want this job is it's a local shipper to me, and they do quite a lot of stuff to Preston. So I did wonder whether there was any work coming out of Preston sort of midday, and this would be a chance for me to find out by doing this work. So the actual job was a drop-off point at Darwin, sort of Darwin and Blackburn, that area, and then another drop-off point at Preston. And so I did that, and I'd finished about 3 o'clock-ish, roughly. Dropped off both drops, no problem at all. Got my paperwork signed off and updated CX. I then wanted to try and find a job going some way back home. At this point, I will say, I regarded all of Friday's work as being bonus day, because I'd managed to achieve my original routes that I'd booked in for Friday on Thursday. So because I did that on Thursday, I had effectively a free day, so any money I earned on Friday I regarded that as being extra, and I needed it because I had really bad Monday and Tuesday. So I just wanted to get something from Preston going vaguely east, south and east. And there wasn't a lot on the CX, and I did win a job about 3:30 going from Skelmersdale to Rochester, I think is how you say it. It's the headquarters of JCB. So I picked that up about 4, and I got to JCB and dropped off about 6. The traffic was quite bad that day. So I arrived at 4. I didn't get off until about 25 past 4 because there was some confusion with the load. In the end, I got the load dropped off at the right place. I am going to say at this point some frustrations I had about the delivery, but more in terms of, from a driver's perspective, the shipper was great in this example. I've got no criticism of the shipper, but I think I found myself in a situation when I was driving down where I thought I can't do anything else here, and I feel uncomfortable with this delivery. So what it was when I picked up, first of all there was a delay in me getting. I wasn't sure where I was going to pick up from. I went to this manufacturing place. There was a goods in. There wasn't really a dispatch office. There was a customer collection point. So I parked near the goods in, but went to the customer collection point and rang the bell. I had to wait for a while before someone arrived. Then I explained to them what I was there to do. I gave them the reference number that I had, which I thought having a reference number is usually really useful. I gave them the reference number, they couldn't find anything from that reference number. Told them where I was going to, told them all the information I had on my system, on my booking. The lady couldn't find the thing, so she went off to ask someone. I had a contact name and number, which is great, so I rang the contact number, but it went through to a contact centre and I asked for the name, and the lady answering said that it was a contact centre and that she would answer my call. So I explained the situation, and she asked me for my number, the reference number, couldn't find the order, and again couldn't really help me, and she said that she was new. So by this point the lady in the collection point had come back to me and found something. So I thanked the lady on the phone and went back to the lady in the collection centre, collection point, and she had a handwritten note that had my the name of my customer I was going to on, and she had a message to give to her that it was going to be at 5 o'clock, and I was there before, and she has been told that someone from Birmingham was going to drive up and collect it. So I wasn't that person from Birmingham, I wasn't there at the right time, it was the correct name. When we looked at the collection notes, dispatch notes, the printed piece of paper, none of the details matched anything that was on my details. The address of the customer was nowhere near where I was going to. There wasn't the name on there that I was going to, but the name was on the piece of paper that was handwritten. The items were close. I was delivering 30 items, and the dispatch notes had 30. No, sorry, I was delivering 31 items according to my notes, and the dispatch notes had 30 items and one item not available, which in total would have made 31, but only had 30 items. So I thought this is probably the right item. It's a bag of bolts, so it wasn't a big item. It's probably the right item, but as a human being, I think I guess it's the right item because it's got this handwritten note. It's the right sort of number of items. Yeah, it's 30, not 31, but it's had a note that said that it should be 31. But as a courier, I could not say I think that's the right item. I couldn't take responsibility for that. And the other thing, so at this point, I would then try and call the shipper and explain the situation. So my first frustration is I tried to call the shipper, but the number on the system had like a plus in front of it, so I had to put it in by hand. So I had to write down the number on one piece of paper while I was dialing the other one, which added just more delay and more frustration and more sort of stress to me. The other thing is we were rushing because this is a 5 o'clock pickup. Sorry, a 4 o'clock pickup, and I had to get to the other end. It was a business to business. They're going to close. I didn't know what time they're going to close, but there was going to be a limit on when I could leave. So all this waiting time and this phoning people, from a driver's perspective only, I found it quite stressful, adding the level of stress because of then trying to get the timing right. As it was, the shipper phoned me when I was about to ring them. This is about 4:15 now. And I just explained to them then what was going on, and luckily the bag I'd been given was open; it hadn't been sealed. So I looked inside the bag and described the product, and the product was the sort of products that the customer was expecting. So I had 3 bits of information here that I was going on that I would feel confident I would go with. What I described was what the customer was expecting. The customer's name on the handwritten note was correct, even if it wasn't on printed note, and the number of items tallied up, albeit there was one missing from the actual order, but they said they wouldn't invoice that one. So for those 3 bits of information, I felt really confident that it was the right order. Also, this is the customer collection point. She got it from the counter behind me. There wasn't a lot of other stuff there that she could have possibly chosen. There wasn't, at the end of the day, there wasn't a lot of other stuff to go out. So there's a lot of reasons to think this was the right order, but the actual paperwork was completely different. Like even the reference numbers for the parts weren't the same. The job reference numbers weren't the same. The address wasn't the same of the customer who had ordered the product. So one of two things that I think has gone wrong here. Either there's a miscommunication somewhere, so that the person that was originally going to collect them probably was the address person on the form, but they've had to get a courier to come in and do it instead, and not told the place that I'm collecting from. In which case, fine, I've got the right thing and I'm doing the right thing. Or the place I'm picking up from, the manufacturer, has messed up at their end, and they've given me the wrong stuff and the wrong paperwork. In which case, I can't do anything about that as a driver. I have to go with what they give me. I can check it against paperwork, but if it's not correct, I have to go with some sort of instinct. So I suppose some of you were thinking, well, just don't take the load. Maybe that would have been the right thing. I just felt that there was enough information for me to take it. And once I spoke to the shipper and explained to them the situation, I felt more at ease about doing the job now. But all this added stress to the whole start of this journey. Anyway, so I hope that explains how I was feeling when I left that job. And many of you, I mean, I have very few subscribers, but if you are listening to this and you've been to JCB World Headquarters, then you will know that it can be difficult to offload there quickly. But I've been there once before and it was okay before, but I've experienced their process and it's not quick. Anyway, so I got myself as quick as I could to JCB, and I arrived at about a minute to 6 o'clock. I went to the gatehouse as instructed. The door was open. I went in the door. There's a guy there putting on, getting ready to leave, and I said what I was there for. He said, we're closed. But you go to the security van and tell him what you want to do. What I was asked to do was to ask someone at the location to call the customer for them to come and collect it from the gate. So I kind of understood that was the process. I just felt I had to kind of get someone else to do that for me, and I always feel that asking people to do stuff for me when they don't really need to is sometimes difficult. And it actually proved to be in this case, to be fair. So I went, my first little mistake, which I'll own up to. I think it's a bit funny, but I don't really know. I think it is. I went to the security guard, and it says on the window, please knock on this window. So I dutifully followed the instructions and knocked on the window. Waited for a bit, and then I looked at the sign again and it said, please do not knock on this window. I thought, oh no, this is a bad start. Oh dear. So I had to, when I finally did get someone come to the security window, I did apologise and said, oh, I misread the sign, and smiled, and that was good enough to get over what could have been a sticky situation. And then the security guard who I was after, and asked if he could call them, and he said no, he couldn't. He didn't know who they were, and he couldn't. So I rang the shipper and explained the situation. He said, oh, tell them to ring this name instead. So reluctantly, I waited outside the security office again, waited for a few minutes, went to the window. I asked him if he could ring this other person instead. He said no, he couldn't. And I thought, I'm stuck here between the shipper on the phone and the security guard not wanting to do what she wants me to do. I'll pass the phone over and get to talk to him directly. The security guard said very nicely, to be fair, he wasn't nasty. I'm sorry mate, I can't really deal with this, I'm too busy. And I thought, this is not going anywhere. I did say, what should I do then? And he said that there is a drop-off point around the corner in a grey box. So I thought, fair enough, I'm not going to push this any further, I'll just do that. The shipper was on the phone, I explained to him what I was going to do. I went round the corner. Was there a grey box? I couldn't see a grey box. I saw plenty of grey bins, and I saw lots of different things that I thought were bins, but no obvious grey box. There was a kind of grey wooden box with cling film over it, which wasn't a bin. And I looked all around me and I thought, you're an intelligent guy, just do this. You're going to come across as being stupid if you can't find a grey box. So again, the pressure and the stress was mounting all the time. I was feeling really uneasy about this whole thing. So I took a photo of I left the package on top of the thin film grey box behind the security gate. I took a photo of it. I took a photo of where it was in relation to the security office. I thought that's the best I can do here. I rang Shipper and explained the situation, put the photos on CX. I felt I did all that I could, but I felt at the time, and I still to some extent feel, really uneasy about that. I don't know for sure that the customer's going to get what he wants. I hope he does. I've done everything I can that he does, but who knows? And I don't feel I could have done anything differently in that situation to have delivered on that job. So I suppose the reason why I'm saying all this is, despite all the things you are told to do when you're doing this job, like you communicate and do everything, you ring the numbers, you communicate, you do all those things. Even if you do all the things that you're supposed to do, sometimes because of one thing or another, you're still going to have to make a judgment call that might be quite unique and make you feel uneasy. I feel that I will get paid for this. I think the shipper's fine with what I've done. I think I'll get the money for this. I just feel that as a driver, I was under a lot of extra stress and pressure because of the lack of communication or whatever it was. I'm not blaming anyone in particular. It's just sometimes these things happen. Okay, so I get that. So I got out of there as quick as I could. They'd all closed up. There's no one else doing any work by this point. And I went and had a break and had a drink and some food. I had a look at other jobs going back from there, but and there was a couple of things I bid on, but by this point I thought I just want to get home. Get the week over with. So in the end I just drove 30 miles back home and the day was ended. So I did 2 jobs. Okay, so I want to at this point give you my summary for that day. So I did 2 jobs for £180 and for £70, so a total gross earnings of £250. My mileage for that day in total, including all the dead miles, was 366 miles, and that was based on an average per mile rate of 12.87 pence per mile for my fuel. I spent a total that day of £47 on fuel, which gave me my net earnings after fuel of £203 for Friday. So not bad for one easy job, one short job, but not necessarily easy. And my miles for my mileage hours for the day, so mileage hours per day was 12 hours. Okay, so I'm now going to give you my weekly figures, and since I've last done this, I've got reacquainted myself with pivot tables, and I've got a pivot table that summarises every week's data now. So what I will probably do is I'll give you the data I have for this week, and I will then go back and put into the description the same figures for my videos up until now for each week that I've now got summarised. So for my week 13, my 13th week working at this job, my total gross earnings, which I don't really take most notice of, but you might think is useful, is £1,225. The total amount of miles I drove in that week was 1,535, and I worked 5 days this week. So my total fuel costs for the week were £197.50, 197.50, and that meant that my net weekly earnings, which is what I'm really kind of more interested in, was £1,028, 1028. The hours I worked, which were being the hours I was looking for jobs and driving to and from home, and the jobs themselves. This is not all just driving, but it's pretty much mostly driving. It was 55 hours that week, and my amount that I earned per mile after fuel was 66.94 pence. So that's all right. I'm happy with that. And another figure I put on my pivot table, which I find useful, I've now worked out what is my average amount that I earn after fuel per day. So you'll know, if you've listened to my other videos, my target is £250 on average per day. average last week after fuel per day was £197.50. Okay, so that is my figures for last week, and I'll put a summary of all of what I've done so far the last 12 weeks in the next to the various videos that exist. Okay, so I want to finish off this video with talking about things that I've learned doing this job, and I suppose there's a couple of things I want to say. The first thing is the reason why I didn't post my video on Friday is because I had company, and the reason why I didn't do that is because I want to remain anonymous. And so I thought, well, why do you want to remain anonymous? And I think the big reason I came up with is that if you don't know who I am, I don't have the pressure to kind of visualise who's listening to this, and therefore I feel that for me I can be freer with what I say, and I can be more honest and open, and that's really the key to this series of videos, is to try and give a realistic, real life perspective on this job. I'm very keen to not come across as being judgmental. So if during these videos you ever feel that that's the tone that I'm giving, and you listen to this video, just be mindful that is not ever my intention. I think I will at some point give my opinion on things, but I want to stress it is just my opinion, and I don't expect anybody to necessarily share that opinion. It would be nice if I had people who view these videos who shared my opinion, because I would feel like part of a community of shared values and shared opinions, but that isn't necessarily why I do this. I think I've found from doing YouTube videos I like the idea of finding people that share my values, and maybe that's what I'm doing here. I'm rambling a bit. So my point is, if you find that it's judgmental, you've got two choices. You can either accept that I'm not being judgmental because that's not my intention, and think about why it is you think it's judgmental from your own perspective. And if you don't want to do that, and you find it difficult, don't watch the videos. It's as simple as that, really. I suppose that's the beauty of social media, is you can choose to access what you want to. There are issues with that, I think, but if you get upset, just don't engage with things that get you upset. It's quite simple. And I suppose finally, I want to remain anonymous because there will be other reasons to do with my character why I want to remain anonymous, which I won't necessarily go into now because I can't necessarily formulate the reason why, but there's other reasons. But the other one I thought of for today is I do want to be open and honest about what I'm earning, and I do appreciate that there may be a shipper out there who doesn't want me to tell the world about what they're giving for their jobs. So I am trying my best to be quite vague about the actual job I'm doing and the actual shipper. I think that by giving the location, the town, delivery and collection delivery points, and maybe what I'm delivering, but only that, I think that might be on the right side of keeping it vague. But I suppose also, so I'm mindful that I don't want to disclose information the shippers wouldn't want me to disclose. And on that note, I suppose, I think, having done this for a bit, I think that there will come a day, I mean it could be quite soon, who knows, where I'm going to do a job for a shipper that sees this video, and they're going to put two together and work out who I am. I can't do anything about that, and I suppose that's just the nature of if I get enough views, that will happen one day. I accept that will one day happen, but until that point I'll be as anonymous as I can be. I think that's everything I'd like to talk about today. So the lesson I was teaching you there was what I've learned about myself, about why I'm doing this video to some extent. It's not really a driver lesson. I suppose if I wanted to give you a driver lesson that I've learned, a little one, it's that what I would do, and I would recommend you do, is whenever I get a job from a shipper, I always try to thank them for giving me that job. I always appreciate getting a job. I think without getting the job, I don't earn the money, and I really am grateful for getting any job, even difficult ones. And in terms of thanking people, I think it's important that you also thank people that you're collecting from for having it on time, and the forklifters for getting stuff loaded on time, and the same, getting unloaded in a good amount of time, and accepting it in a good time. I always try to remember to thank all those people in the chain that helped me achieve my aims. So although this is a very solitary job, I'm responsible for my own behaviour and my own work. There are lots of people in the chain that I have to acknowledge. Those people, the shipper, the customer that I'm collecting from, the forkies at both ends, the customers delivering to, even CX. I'm grateful for the CX app and what they do. I've got no issues with the CX app. It allows someone like me, who has no experience, no contacts, to get into this industry. I also understand why people are frustrated with the work on there. I see what's being said, and I completely accept that there are issues. But despite that, I'm very grateful and thankful for having CX available. It really helps me. Okay, so, and my final thank you, which I always like to do, is I thank you for listening to my video. It's a bit cheesy, sorry. What have you learnt today?